Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the October edition of the Town of Kent Zoning Board of Appeals. Before we begin, please rise and join me in pledging allegiance to the flag of our country. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Just to mention to the applicants, if you were required to notify your neighbor, make sure you have your green receipt for return receipt mailings, and you can bring them right up when you're called. Also, if there is anyone that intends to speak regarding an application before this board, when that applicant is called up, I'll give you an opportunity to be heard. All right, first application up on the agenda is Carmel Central School District. Good evening.
Chair and members of the board, for the record, my name is Jennifer Gray from the law firm of Keene & Bean, representing Morrow Equipment Company, who is the contract vendee for the property that is owned by the Carmel Central School District. So we are seeking to purchase the property from the Carmel Central School District. We have an application currently pending before the planning board for site plan approval for Morrow Equipment. What Morrow seeks to do on the property is operate its crane business. And what I mean by that is Morrow is one of the country's leading provider of cranes for construction sites throughout the country. When a construction site needs a crane for the erection of a building, Morrow will load up a truck with the component parts of the crane, ship those parts to the site, assemble it, then when the construction site is done with the crane, disassemble and bring it back to this property, hopefully. The tower crane that is proposed to be on this property assists with the loading and unloading of those trucks and also moving the component parts of the various cranes around the site to the wash area, the paint booth, and other outdoor storage areas. So for this proposed use of the site, there are a couple reasons why we're before you. One of them is for an interpretation. It's been determined by the building inspector that the crane is subject to the building height requirement. As we explained in our July 29th letter to the board, we believe that the crane is not a building pursuant to the definition in your code, so it is not subject to the maximum building height restriction in the IOC district. If the zoning board disagrees with that, if you find the crane is a building, then we have asked for a variance from that building height requirement. We're also asking for a variance from the outdoor storage height restriction. In your code, outdoor storage is limited to 10 feet in height, and we're seeking 32 feet. And that is for, if you see at the bottom right corner there, in this crane diagram, there are component pieces of the crane that are stacked up. We're proposing to have those stacks be approximately 32 feet in height, which is why we're seeking that height variance. The reason we can't comply with the 10-foot requirement there is if we were to comply with the 10-foot requirement, each of those components are 8 feet. So we'd have to just basically lay out one component over the whole site, which would obviously eat up a lot of footprint. There are wetlands on the property, and we're trying to avoid any disturbance of those wetlands. We discussed at your workshop earlier this month that there are actually 2 additional requests that we're going to come to you for. We can talk about those next month. We actually just made a supplemental submission on Friday to include those as part of the application. One of them is for another interpretation, and then a second variance related to freestanding light poles and the height of those. I'm happy to reserve that discussion for your October meeting since you don't have those materials in front of you tonight. So for tonight, we're not seeking a final decision from you tonight on the variances. I want to make that clear up front. The planning board is serving as lead agency for secret purposes. the State Environmental Quality Review Act. So procedurally, the ZBA should not act on those variances until the planning board has completed its environmental review. I understand that the general municipal law referral has been made and a response has been received. I think we received that from Vera earlier today.
That's correct. A referral was made from the planning board to, with 239.
Yeah, we just learned that today. We thought that it had not been made, so prepared the form and submitted it to Vera, but I understand now that it had been made
I
and
just
it
found
has
out
been
today,
complete.
too, so,
Yeah, so we're on the same page. So we're not seeking a decision on the variances. The interpretation is another issue. The interpretation question, and that is that the crane is not a building and subject to the building height requirement. Interpretations are not subject to SECRA, and they're also not subject to general municipal law review. So we would be interested in receiving your decision on the interpretation question as soon as possible. I understand you've got 3 members of the board here tonight, and Mr. Wells, I understand, is recusing himself from this application. So obviously, there's not a quorum of the board here tonight in order to make that decision, but we would like to present to the 2 members that would be voting at some point, and also for the benefit of the public as well, since this is a notice public hearing. We did send out the neighbor notices as required.
I did give you the
and we have
opportunity to stay home tonight.
I appreciate that very much, but we know that there might be some neighbors in the audience that wanted to speak, and we didn't want to obviously cut them off of that opportunity. So if I could speak just for a couple minutes on the interpretation question and then the outdoor storage height variance that we're seeking. And obviously, if you have any questions, please let me know. So the interpretation question, as I mentioned, we are seeking a determination that the crane is not a building. Building is defined in your code specifically as any structure having a roof supported by columns, walls, or poles, used and intended to be used for the shelter of persons, animals, or property, and used for residential or non-residential purposes. So we see the definition of building as having really 4 component parts. 1, it has to be a structure, and structure is separately defined in your code, separately from building. 2, it has to have a roof supported by columns, walls, or poles. 3, it has to be used and intended to be used for the shelter of persons, animals, or property. And 4, used for residential or non-residential purposes. I don't know what's left, residential or not. I mean, that covers everything, so I don't think we even need to discuss that 4th component. So as far as the first part of the definition of building, that it has to be a structure. Structure is defined in your code as anything constructed or erected, the use of which requires location on, in, or under the ground or attached to something having a location on the ground. Our position on that point is that a crane is not a structure because it's not affixed to one location on the ground. Instead, it's on wheels that move along a rail system similar to a locomotive. And I don't believe you would consider a locomotive or a train to be a structure. So similarly, we wouldn't consider a crane that runs on wheels on a rail system to be a structure. What's important, though, is even if the ZBA does find that the crane is a structure, under your specific definition of structure, there's still, like we said, 3 other parts of the definition of building that also have to be met in order to be classified as a building. So the second one is that it has a roof supported by columns, walls, or poles. So we don't believe the crane has a roof. I think the closest part you would come to that would be the cabin, their cab, located right there on the crane, which...
Excuse me for just, thank you.
Yes.
I was just going to ask you if you could move it up.
Oh,
so
sure,
everyone can
yeah,
see.
that
Thank
probably
you very
makes
much.
sense.
Appreciate that.
Thank you. Which, as we've mentioned before, is not going to be used. That cab will not be used or is not intended to be used which kind of gets to the third component, which is the crane has to be used and intended to be used for the shelter of persons, animals, or property. The crane will be solely operated from the ground remotely. There will not be a person in that cab using it as shelter, and we don't intend to have animals or property in the cab as well. So for all those reasons, we would submit that the crane is not a building as defined by your code and therefore not subject to the maximum building height in the IOC district. With respect to the outdoor storage height, as I mentioned before, that pertains to these crane components, which would be stacked to be 32 feet maximum. Each block is 8 feet. Right now, we're showing 3 blocks, but we'd be able to stack it a maximum of 4 blocks high at 32 feet as proposed. And those stacks of components, and just to be clear, the components are the various pieces of the crane that will then get assembled at the construction site. So those stacks of components would be stored in this area here. This is the crane, and this is the rail system that the crane will run on. And those components will be stacked around the site in those locations there. As I mentioned, the reason for the height, the proposed height, is twofold. One, because of the height of each block, and also to allow us to use a smaller footprint on the site rather than encroach into, this is all wetland on the left north side of the property. So we're trying to stay within the already disturbed location of the site and not move any further to the north for environmental protection purposes. Obviously, the property is located between Route 52 and I-84, right on the I-84 corridor at the on-ramp by the Sunoco station. To the north of us, as I mentioned, is a wooded wetland area, which is not proposed to be disturbed. Beyond that is the Sunoco gas station. To the south is the animal hospital, and then a precast concrete manufacturer and structural steel fabricating facility that does include outdoor storage as well. We did provide section profiles prepared by Insight, and I should mention with me tonight is Jamie Logidice from Insight, and also Ron Yakin, Vice President of Morrow. The section profiles show how the crane would be viewed from various locations along 52, from the animal hospital, from 84, and shows that you're going to see the crane and you're going to see some of the components. That we're not hiding that fact. We do think that the visibility of the components themselves from 84 will be largely screened by the existing vegetation, which is in this general area here, which we're not proposing to disturb. And then as you're traveling along 52, the property is a little bit elevated, and this over here is a large hill up. So there will be some screening provided there as well, and the building itself will provide screening for the outdoor crane components. I also want to mention, with respect to the height of the crane itself, in the event you find it is a building and subject to the height restrictions, we're asking for a height of 99 feet. That 99 feet, I should just hold on to this. That 99 feet goes to the tippy top of the crane here. So 99 feet goes to the top here. The boom that goes across is at approximately 73 feet, 5 inches.
Okay.
So I think that sums up sort of the salient points from our letter. We obviously did submit a pretty detailed letter dated July 29th that has some more information, but I don't want to bore everyone too much with too many details. So happy to answer any questions, and we certainly look forward to hearing any comments from the public as well.
Well, regarding your request for a response regarding the interpretation, any interpretation that this board makes, as far as I'm concerned, is a matter of record, as you know. I am reluctant to put the proverbial cart before the horse. I'm much more comfortable waiting for the 239M referral to come back and what their determination is. I'll open it up to the board members. Any questions?
I'll just mention, you did receive the 239M referral back from the county with no comment.
They received it back.
Right, Vera, you received a response from the county. I have a copy here.
We did receive it back and it was approved as submitted.
Why I don't have a copy of that? My apologies.
Sure.
So one question I do have in reference to the crane, and the concern here that we've discussed is it being an actual structure. And I guess my question to you is, do you consider it a fixed object, including the rails, to the ground? And that is something that we're trying to mull over and get past.
Yeah, so Jamie might be able to provide a little more description. My understanding is that the rails themselves will have a foundation in the ground. But the crane has wheels that roll along those rails. Again, similar to a train.
Right.
So they're not affixed in any location. It's fluid, provides for fluid movement.
Right.
You know, it's funny, we processed an application in the town of East Fishkill for a site very similar to this. It didn't move forward for various reasons, but the issue of the crane as a structure was also considered by the town of East Fishkill zoning board, and their definition of structure is almost exactly to the word the same as yours. And they found that the crane itself was not a structure under their code. So to the extent that helps you, or doesn't, I just wanted you to be aware of that information. They found that the rail system was a structure because it had a foundation in the ground, but the crane on the wheels was not a structure.
Thank you for that.
Yeah.
Is there anyone who would like to speak regarding this application? Yes. Sir, come up, please. Please sign in on the sign-in sheet.
My name is Greg Irizzo from Metric Motors, and I have a business that can't be a quarter of a mile away from this project.
Why don't you sign in first? Complete that sign-in process. And you can...
So the rock cut to the south is going to block any view of this structure. There's no population in that direction anyway. To the east, Bowen Road is over the other side of the hill in a ravine. No population there will see it either. People in my business will. Ludingtonville Road, Route 84 and 52 will as well. But the structure is not going to be any different than that cell tower right here in your backyard. So I think it's a win-win situation for the school system and the community. It's pretty simple.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Is there anyone else who would like to speak regarding this application? Anyone else that can speak regarding this application? Okay, obviously, we do not have a quorum here this evening.
Right.
Okay, you're going to supply us with the supplement?
Yes, absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely.
And again, my apologies. I was aware that the last I heard, the planning board was just referring this to the county department. So I'm very surprised.
The county is moving quickly these days.
Yeah.
Yeah, I just want to say for the record, as mentioned, I do have to recuse myself. There is a relationship between the firm that I've retired from and Morrow, which could create an issue, and that's the reason I'm recusing myself, and that's why there's no parking.
Appreciate that. So yeah, we will provide you with the supplemental information regarding the other interpretation issue and the light pole variance for your next meeting. We already submitted a letter, but we'll supplement that with the necessary form and the most recent set of plans too, because I don't think you have the most recent set of plans that have been updated. So we'll send those along to you as well.
Great, and I may be back in touch because I may want to take another look at that property.
Absolutely. The crane location, the rails are staked, and the four corners of the building are staked. So if you want a site visit, just reach out to my office or to Jamie's office at Insight, and we'd be happy to coordinate.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Absolutely.
Appreciate that. Thank you for your time.
Okay. Thank you very much.
Thanks.
We look forward to seeing you in October. Thank you.
Okay, next item on the agenda is that of Keith Parker, 27 Geneva Drive. Thank you, sir.
Just
Good
looking-
evening. Tell us what you're here for.
Looking for about an 18-inch variance on the height of a retaining wall.
Can you move that closer to that mic or move the mic closer to you? There you go.
Looking for about an 18-inch height variance on a retaining wall. This separates my property from the neighbors.
So as you know, we've been out to your location
Yes.
and took a look at what you have to work with there. I'll open it up to the board with any questions they may have.
Yeah, I mean, I guess the way I view it is the variance really is a side variance, because instead of having an 8-foot side setback, you want to put the wall right on the property line, which would be 0 feet from your neighbors, or your neighbor. So I guess the way I'm viewing it is that the real variance is,
Well, the variance, from what I understood from the building inspector, was I can go 36 inches without a variance. To go over that, I need a variance. So because it goes up to, it's under 30 inches on one side, and it's up to 52, 54 on the other side.
well, I think that's why you need the building permit. I mean, correct me if I guess our building inspector's not here, but as I understand it, that's why you need the building permit, but the zoning variance,
Yeah,
the zoning variance, which is all we have the authority to address, is to have a 0-foot setback, in other words, right on the property line, as compared to an 8-foot setback, which is what the code requires. And then to the extent that you need to comply with the various building requirements, that's again not our jurisdiction, that's the building department. So I mean, I think our job is, a variance, a variance for being on the property line as compared to 8 feet from the property line.
All right.
Bob? Is there anyone who'd like to speak on behalf of this application? Come on up, please.
How are you, Mr. Montiel?
I'm very fine, thank you. How are you?
Good.
Long time no see.
Should I sign in? So for the past maybe 5 years now, me and my neighbor, Mr. Moria, have been dealing with not a good situation on Geneva Drive. I know that this is for, regarding this situation. We, the residents, the neighbors, were never informed of the big, large garage that was put on this property. We were never given a letter like tonight. So again, it's been almost 5 years, and the town allowed this large structure, which does look like a commercial garage. What it's being done for, I don't know. I know there's large equipment in it. And with 3 sheds on the property, it's a large eyesore. Me and my mom are the owners of 29 Geneva Drive. So I just wanted to let the board know that we were never informed of this. And again, nothing's been done with this house in about, I think it's about 5 years, I'm not even sure. And we just want to know why we weren't approached about it, and, you know, what the plan is, what's going to happen. I mean, there's no privacy for Marcello and his wife, Liliana. There's zero privacy. And my side, there's, you know, I got to look at bunch of tree branches on a shed, so I had to put a cape up so my mom wouldn't have to look at it. And for right now, there's an umbrella up, so I don't have to look at much of that. But, you know, we just would like some sort of maybe an answer or something with what's going to maybe eventually happen with this. Because we don't know if there's going to be like a business in this garage. And it's a little nerve-wracking with my mom, who's not here tonight. She stayed home. Because I don't want her to get upset. She's been upset enough about this. So I'm just looking for maybe some kind of an answer regarding this. And we didn't get too far with the town, because of course when we noticed that and went to approach it, we were informed that, of course, it's not going to come down, which, you know, we know that. So we're just concerned neighbors.
Let me ask you a question. Assuming that you were never advised of that structure,
Right.
once the structure was underway and it was being built, did you reach out to the town?
We did. Me and Marcello, we went down there regarding that, and actually I think it was first me, my sister, and my mom who went down there and approached it and said, you know, basically, what went up, and it went up quick.
No, did you reach out to the town, and
Yes.
who did you speak to?
Well, we spoke to Mr. Walters, and I think a little bit of Mr. Looney. We spoke to Jamie about this, and nothing was done about that with her, because then she handed it off to the proper parties, Mr. Walters and Mr. Looney. But nothing was done about that.
Okay. Anyone else have any?
I would like to, and ma'am, in total respect, I understand you're asking about the garage tonight, but that's not what this gentleman's here for tonight.
No, I understand. I just wanted to, we really haven't been able to vent and have other people hear what we've had to deal with. So I just wanted to see about voicing our opinions. I know Marcello might want to say a few things too, but we just have concerns, you know.
Sure.
I do know that there's a bulldozer in the garage now. It's just really nerve-wracking to be on either side right now.
So-
Regarding do you have any comments regarding regarding this application?
That's more, I'm gonna hand it over to my neighbor. Yeah. Thank you.
Thank
for
you.
listening.
Thank you for your comments, appreciate it.
Come up. Please be sure to sign in. Could you take the pen with you? Maura, where's your pen?
I guess so.
Good evening to everyone.
Hello.
First,
Hello.
I wanna, I'm Brazilian, so my English is a little, try to understand, please.
You're doing very well.
Sir, could you tell us your name, please?
My name is Marcelo.
Marcello?
Marcelo. Marcelo Rodriguez Moreta.
Okay.
So he's what's happening. Mr. T, he moved about 5 years ago. He purchased the property and he's doing some work there. He put a bunch of dump trucks to increase the height, to level it up so he could, build this garage. Like my neighbor was saying, he built that garage so quick because he knew if we tried to say something, we could try to also stop with that huge garage. It's like a commercial size. It's bigger than the request, about 6 feet or 8 feet, bigger than the request. From the, what's the name again? The permit? Yeah. So we tried to speak up with Mr. Looney, but he kept saying to us that it's totally legal to build that size of construction there. We just could not believe it, that how come, in the neighborhood, there's nothing like that, especially a garage. To me, that's not a garage, period. Now, he built that, Mr. Luna approved. Since he built that garage, I got no privacy. When he walked by my fence, his knee is right on top of my fence. So basically, my wife, she cannot take her son, take a sunlight outside the way she likes to. And also, on the beginning, when he put those dump trucks, I already got my flood basement. And my basement got flooded like 5 times.
Okay,
So,
I understand.
when you do a construction, what I know, you have to put a tarp around the construction site. That was never done. No one did that. I don't know if that's a part of the construction site. I think it is. You have to put a tarp around the property to hold the mud, to hold the water. And my well is right there. So my water was dark. And I keep testing my water since. And now there is also, I know we're not here for that. We're here to try to find out a way so I don't get water anymore. But also, there's cameras in the property that it's not shooting towards my house, but yeah, you can have a plenty view of my backyard. And I was searching in New York State. Yeah, that's not really legal to have a camera like that. First, when he first moved there, he was living in and I never made a complaint. He knows that I never say one word, never. He was living inside the camp trailer, right by that yellow house, his house. And that trailer was right in front of my kitchen area, where we eat, take a breakfast, and everything else. So we ended up putting blinders there. And my bathroom is right by too. So in front of the house, he got a camera, like a not shooting towards the front of the house. It's like a little sideway. And that camera, you can swivel that camera. I never see that camera swiveling, but yeah, you can. You can say, oh, I'm never gonna look. I'm gonna only look if something is wrong, if something happened in the area. But yeah, that's not really true. If you wanna one day scroll and look what's going on, you're gonna look. But,
Sir, I
yeah.
understand. I
Yeah.
understand your concerns, and
So-
I know where you're coming from, and I appreciate your comments.
Mm-hmm.
But right now, we have a request for a variance regarding
Right.
the retaining wall.
Mm-hmm.
If you could please limit your comments to that of the retaining wall.
I'd
we would
like to
appreciate
know
it.
exactly how, until where he's trying to bring that retainer wall. If he's gonna bring it all the way passing his house, Because that's basically where I have the issue, right there, where's that fence ended. Because that fence, I put that fence up, and I put that fence towards my side because there was a lot of bushings on that area. I could not push the fence basically near the property line, because that fence was there when I purchased the house. So, but the beginning of the fence, when you walk towards the property, I put those the two fences on the beginning, I put those there. But I put more towards my side because I could not push it where it's supposed to be. But that's not the issue. So I like to know where you're gonna start with the concrete retainer wall on that area. Because back there is already my height. It's right here on me. So, and I don't know what else he's planning to do it. A fence from the concrete wall and up? And how big is gonna be that fence? The max allowed is 6 feet. So I already have a 5. If you put a 6 feet fence, it's gonna be basically 11, 12. Which I take it, because I want my privacy back. But, and that ramp now, I know he gotta bring that ramp towards the front of the house more, because that ramp is still like a, you know. So I like to try to understand better how that ramp and where the retainer wall is gonna ending up, about where.
Mr. Parker, do you have,
Yeah.
you have any
Because of
response to that?
My driveway looks like the retaining wall, the way I see it, the retaining wall has to be along the fence all the way to the end, where my driveway begins. So I have no idea how you're gonna be planning to do the retaining, what else? Because I think it would be better to do the retaining wall all the way to that spot.
Okay, well,
Yeah.
if you're done with your comments, I'm
Yeah.
gonna bring Mr. Parker back up,
Please.
okay? Thank you. Well, there's obvious some concerns out there, Mr. Parker.
I know.
And would you like to clarify any of those concerns regarding
As the drawing proposed, the retaining wall would only go to the back corner of the house, as far as forward as it would go. And then just past the garage on the rear right into the hill.
Okay.
So in reference to the height, if I'm understanding correctly, and please clarify, that retention wall will be a maximum height of 52 inches, or
About 52
approximately
inches,
52
yes.
inches, correct? At the one end,
At the high end,
correct?
and it's only like 28 or 30 at the back. end.
Correct. And if you would also clarify, when we were out there, obviously, we were concerned about drainage. As I understand, your neighbor's concerned about runoff and the such. Could you kind of explain, maybe in a little bit more detail, of putting this wall up, retention wall up, what will occur as far as drainage? I mean, it's my understanding that this is potentially going to eliminate or at least reduce the concern for your
Well,
neighbor's concern
it
here.
being level, if it is level where it is now, it's not sloped towards its property.
I'm
So
sorry,
if-
could you repeat that?
If it's level the way it is now, it's not sloped towards its property. If we have to reduce it down to the 36 inches, it'll be sloped towards its property. So. And then there's the drain pipe at the bottom of the thing, at the bottom of the wall.
Okay. And in reference to the actual property line, again, for my own clarification, the fence currently, the neighbor's fence is currently on the property line. Is that a correct understanding, sir?
4 inch from the property line, because I know where the property line is.
So it's 4 inches on your property line, the fence that you
My
put
fence,
up?
yes.
Okay. And again, the reason for gentlemen coming tonight
And
is,
maybe 5
Okay.
inch.
thank you, I appreciate that. I appreciate that, I truly do. The reason you're coming here tonight seeking a variance, and please help me along here, gentlemen, is you're not within the compliance of the 3 foot. Is that correct? Am I understanding that? From his property line?
Well, 8 feet. I mean, normally,
feet,
yeah,
excuse
normally
me,
you
I
need
apologize.
an 8-foot
Thank you.
side,
Thank you for the correction.
yeah, side space. And this would reduce it from 8 feet to 0 feet because it would be right on the property line.
Okay.
I don't know if I can say so. Yeah, it's.
You're welcome to come back up, sir.
Yeah, from the scratch day, I noticed that, and I mentioned that to Mr. Looney, it's the retainer wall is right on the fence, like a eighth 3 inch apart.
So you think it goes over the property line onto your property?
He's on it.
On it, yeah,
He's
no,
on
that,
it.
that, right, that's what he's
right
saying,
on
it would be on
yeah.
it, right?
And I was concerned about that, because I heard that you're not supposed to build anything that close.
Right, and that's why we're here, because normally there's supposed to be an 8-foot setback on the side.
Anything else on the board?
Just a clarification, Mr. Parker could clarify where the end of the drainage for the retaining wall is going to terminate. So, just so we know, there's not gonna be any problem with the water collecting in the drainage.
I can run the pipe all the way street to daylight, or I can put it in a dry well. It doesn't matter to me.
I mean, I guess that's what we're looking for, what I'm looking for as far as drainage.
I'll do whatever you prefer.
I don't design,
Okay,
okay, so for you to go out to the street, you would need permission from the highway
okay.
department. So, I mean,
Then I can put in the dry well. If that works. Or I'll talk to the DOT, I don't,
Could you bring that towards the back of that garage? The back of the?
pump it
No.
up the hill to go back towards your place.
Somewhere there?
Pump it up the hill to go back towards your property.
Oh, it's gonna be a backyard.
It's a hill. Water goes down, not up.
Right, but that spot, where my gazebo is.
Okay,
okay, I mean, just.
Sure.
Clarify that, that's.
I'm going to make a motion. I want to be sure that I understand everything completely, and I may even want to take another look at this. I'm going to make a motion. I'd like to carry this over till next month. I'm making a motion that we hold this application over the next month to gain some clarification.
In light of what's going on tonight, I'd be willing to make that motion or second that motion.
Yeah, I'd be in favor of that. But I just like to say, I don't want to minimize any of the concerns that have been raised about the garage and what may be going on in the garage. I mean, that's really beyond what we've got the ability to do here.
Absolutely.
And I know it's sometimes frustrating to figure out whom you talk to in the town. You know, it's not that big a town, but there are plenty of people doing lots of things. And I understand why you may have thought we had the ability to do that, but we don't. And I know you've talked to Mr. Looney, but I think that he really is the compliance officer and therefore the one to address those concerns. So,
They approached myself several times in the building department. I'm the one who issued the building permit because it met the zoning requirements.
yeah, so I mean,
The original complaints went to Mr. Looney, and then Mr. Looney contacted me. So I've expressed my concerns several times. They've expressed their concerns numerous times to myself and the town supervisor. So they've been explaining why the garage was allowed to be put in that particular place. It was within the legal limits that it was allowed.
Okay, so, come on back up.
Well, just brief, I mean, again, I'm not, Mr. Wells,
yes.
but again,
Ma'am, could I ask you to
Yeah,
come to the
come back
microphone,
up.
please? Thank you.
But again, we were never, me and Mr. Moriarty, were not sent any information about this large structure that was allowed to be put up. I mean, it's huge. It's huge. I don't know if you have been out there, Mr. Mokia. it doesn't belong on that piece of property. These back in the day were the little country homes. That's what I'm trying to say. We were not informed of this. And that's where there should have been a little bit respect. Send a letter, this is what his intentions was. Not this big colossal building. That's what I'm trying to say,
Okay.
okay?
It's just, this is not why we're here tonight. We
No,
understand
I
your
was
concern.
just answering Mr. Wells.
You know, but I just didn't want you to think that, we're ignoring what you're saying.
No,
You know, I hear
no,
what
I
you're
know,
saying,
just- yeah,
but
I
we're
just-
just not the people to address
Right,
that.
no,
Yeah.
and we tried to approach it, but,
Yeah.
thank you.
So, I don't even know if I need to put this out for a motion, but I'll put it out there anyway. Do I have a motion to hold this over till next month?
I will.
I
Do I have a
second it.
second? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank
Good
you.
evening.
Thank you.
Next on the agenda is Edward Cummins, 20 Dunwoody. Good evening, sir. Good evening. Please sign in. So tell us why you're here this evening.
For a variance for a shed that I put up by 11 by 12 by 21, and it's close to the property line.
Okay, as you know, we were out to your site, we took a look at it. I really don't have any issues that I observed. I'll open it up to the board.
Yeah, I just want to say that you're looking for a rear variance so that instead of a 20-foot setback,
Yes.
it's a 0-foot setback. It's right on the property line. Ordinarily, I would not be in favor of allowing a shed right on the property line, but we did note you've already got 2 sheds on the property line. Apparently, you did get variances from the zoning board back in 2009 or so, and I don't think any of us were on it. But given that you've got 2 legal sheds on the property line already, I'm not concerned about putting a 3rd one there. Although, as I said, normally that's not something I would be in favor of.
Yes.
Bobby?
I concur with Mr. Wells, my partner, the same thing. You've got 2 sheds there already. I wouldn't normally move forward with this, but being the situation it is, it's there already. You are encroaching on your neighbor's property, but I don't foresee it when we were out there to be an issue, so.
No, and they've signed the cards. Do you want these?
If we could have those, please, sir.
And one we will get back, but I have the receipt.
As long as you have the receipt, that's
Thank
fine,
you.
sir.
Need the mail receipts? No? These?
No, you can, the receipts are
No.
yours. We don't need the receipts.
And
The
these
green
are-
cards are fine.
Green
Yeah.
cards.
And this is the one you didn't get
No,
back?
he has the one that I didn't get back.
Okay.
Yeah. And actually, that house is, will be sold at my neighbor across the road.
Okay.
Either in this month or next month. The people that are living there now are buying it.
Across Dunwoody, is that?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, right up.
I understand.
Yeah.
Thank you, sir. Is anybody here to speak?
I'm sorry.
Is there anybody here to speak on behalf of this? Anybody else? Should probably just.
Is there anyone here to speak on this application? Anyone here to speak on this application? Do I have a motion to approve this application?
I'll make that motion.
Do I have a second?
I'll second that motion.
All in favor?
Aye.
You can follow up with the building department, sir.
Thank you so much. I
Have
appreciate
a
You're
good
welcome,
night.
sir.
Thank you.
No more sheds.
No, no more. I like to buy bigger property.
Yeah, no more tractors.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Have a good evening.
Next application on the agenda is that of Lynn Brady. Please.
Would you like my address on this as well?
Does it call
Sure.
for it? I'm not sure.
That'd be great. Thank you, Ms. Brady.
All right. I'm here to apply for a renewal of my permit and certificate of occupancy for my, it's an auxiliary apartment. And this is been renewed since '93.
Yeah, I've been out there numerous times to look at the apartment, so it's still in compliance.
Thank you.
All right, I see you have, you recently had an inspection, and you have the blessings of the Board of Health and Bill Walters, and I really don't see an issue with approving this renewal. Do I have a motion to approve?
I'll go ahead and make that motion.
Have a second?
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.
You're good to go.
Have a good evening, Ms. Brady. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Good night.
Yeah.
Okay,
Mrs.
we have a
Mrs.
set
Brady,
of...
if you would just stop in at the building department tomorrow or next week, whenever, that way we can process the CO fee for you, so that way you don't get it. It'll be $75 to process that.
Okay.
All right?
I'll stop in tomorrow, most likely.
Very good, thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, I'm assuming that the board members have had an opportunity to review the minutes from the August meeting. And with that, if there weren't any errors or omissions noticed, I'd like to have a motion to approve the minutes from August.
Well, I did notice one thing, which I sent in an email. I think that our new member, Mr. Bosworth's vote should be reflected. Yeah, he
Okay,
was present at the meeting, but his vote wasn't listed.
okay. And you received that, right, Vera?
Yeah,
Okay. Do I have a motion to approve the minutes?
Yeah, with that change, I would make that motion.
Do I have a second?
I will second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Anything else before the board? Anything else before the board? Great, we'll see you in October. Have a good night.